Good afternoon and welcome to Great Sacred Music. I'm Sarah Maxted. I'm the Programme Manager for St Martin's Voices, so it's lovely to be here today to introduce today's Great Sacred Music on the theme of the sea. This is part of a summer holiday sequence we have, so last week we talked about the sun, today the sea, and next week the sky. And I hope that today's seascapes and water-themed music will help cool us all down a bit after the extreme heat we've had the last few days. The first piece we heard today was Never Weather Beaten Sail by Thomas Campion, who was an Elizabethan poet and composer born in London in 1567. He had a rather meandering career, starting first studying at Cambridge, never attaining a degree there, then taking up the study of law before eventually qualifying as a medical doctor. And later in life, he was even implicated in a scandalous murder trial of a fellow courtly poet. However, it was the life as a musician and writer that was clearly Campion's true calling, and he's best remembered now for his multiple books of lute songs, of which Never Weather Beaten Sail is one of the most famous. It's rather a simple poem, which uses the metaphor of a voyage-weary boat seeking the safe harbour to compare it to the weariness of the human soul longing to flee from the struggles and the toils of earthly life to the eternal rest that heaven promises. Partly this setting is very famous due to the version we know by Parry, the Victorian composer, in his famous choral Songs of Farewell. But in Campion's original setting, as we just heard, you can hear the maritime metaphors and the spiritual urgency expressed through rolling quavers and keen repetitions of the line, "Oh, come quickly." It's our tradition at Great Sacred Music not just to enjoy the wonderful voices of the singers behind me, but for us all to sing together in a couple of hymns. The first of these today is Eternal Father, Strong to Save, which you'll find inside your service sheet that hopefully you found as you came in. The lyrics are just on the inside here. This is a traditional seafarer's hymn, particularly associated with the naval forces, both here in the United Kingdom and in the United States. The text was written in 1860 by William Whiting, and he was partly inspired by the text of Psalm 107, but also by his own experience of surviving on board a ship during a violent storm. And this experience instilled in him a firm belief in God's power to calm the raging seas. According to Whiting himself, writing this hymn, the process of it helped to anchor his own faith. And the melody was composed by the American clergyman John B. Dykes and named Melita, which is an archaic name for the island of Malta, which was where in the book of Acts the Apostle Paul was shipwrecked, and he found safety and support for his ongoing journey. So please remain seated as the voices will stand and lead us as we sing together, Eternal Father, Strong to Save. The next piece we will hear is Hubert Parry's setting of Crossing the Bar by Alfred Lord Tennyson. This is an elegiac poem written by Tennyson in 1889, and it's filled with maritime imagery representing the end of life. The phrase moaning of the bar refers to the natural and ominous noises that can occur as the tide passes over sandbar shoals around the low tide, when they're at their most perilous to crossing ships. It has been speculated that Tennyson wrote the poem whilst on a yacht anchored at Salcombe in Devon, where there is a prominent moaning sandbar and a tragic history of shipwrecks. The pilot mentioned in the final lines of the poem is a metaphor for God, whom Tennyson anticipates meeting face to face after crossing the perilous sandbar out into the still calm of the wide open ocean. In his own commentary on the poem, Tennyson wrote, "The pilot has been on board all the while, but in the dark I have not seen him. He is that divine and unseen who is always guiding us." Tennyson effectively assigned this poem to be his own requiem, asking his son to include it as the final poem in all future editions of his works. The setting we're about to hear by Hubert Parry is a 4-part hymn arrangement titled Freshwater, and was first performed at the Hereford Festival in 1903. And this was at the height of Parry's compositional career, and the same year that he was created a baronet as part of the coronation honours for King Edward VII. After Crossing the Bar, we will hear They That Go Down to the Sea in Ships by Herbert Sumsion. 2 Herberts in a row here, Hubert and Herbert. Sumsion was a 20th century English church musician and educator who was the organist at Gloucester Cathedral, director of music at Cheltenham Ladies' College, and had a long and fruitful association with the Three Choirs Festival. They That Go Down to the Sea is one of his most famous choral works now, well established in the Anglican church music canon. It's a setting of Psalm 107, the same lines which inspired the hymn we just sang together, Eternal Father, Strong to Save. Sumsion's anthem for choir and organ was originally composed for the choir of Repton Prep School in 1979. It is a dramatic and evocative setting, word-painting the stormy sea through rippling organ part and through the rising and falling choral surges. For example, you'll hear the repeated lines, "They are carried up to the heaven and down again to the deep." We'll even hear a musical depiction of seasickness as the voices sing, "They reel to and fro and stagger like a drunken man," as the organ part roils underneath with lurching triple-time rhythms. So do listen out for that moment, but first let's enjoy the Parry.
No
For the next piece, we turn to Britain's rich maritime folk song tradition. Just As the Tide Was Flowing is from 5 English folk songs composed in 1912 by Vaughan Williams. He was inspired by the work of folk song revivalist Cecil Sharp, who, realizing that the oral tradition of folk song was rapidly dying out, worked to collect and notate folk songs from all around the British Isles. Sharp collected this folk song in Somerset, and Vaughan Williams developed it into a more elaborate arrangement, whilst retaining the folk quality of the tune and the words. Throughout the piece, you can hear the phrases cresting and falling in patterns of rolling quavers, which evoke the rolling waves of the sea. At the end of the third verse, the penultimate verse, the arrangement really lets rip, and you'll hear the cascading melismas on the repeated word flowing. It's now time for us to sing together again with our second hymn, I, the Lord of Sea and Sky. This popular hymn, also known as Here I Am, Lord, was written by the American composer Dan Schutt for an ordination mass at the Jesuit Seminary in Berkeley, California in 1979. Since then, it has become hugely popular, particularly in Catholic liturgy in the United States, and also increasingly here in the United Kingdom. The BBC's Songs of Praise regularly surveys the nation's favourite hymns, and back in 2013, I, the Lord of Sea and Sky reportedly ranked as somewhere around the 605th most popular hymn. However, in 2019, it leapt up the rankings to be voted the UK's 10th favourite. Public opinion can be fickle. Please remain seated as the voices stand again and lead us in I, the Lord of Sea and Sky.
I
Thank you for joining us for Great Sacred Music today. There will be the opportunity to contribute to a retiring collection, either with cash as you leave today, or you can use the details on the back of the sheet if you prepare for some slightly more modern ways of contributing. And I do hope you'll join us again. Great Sacred Music every week here, same time on Thursday. Next week the theme is Sky, so if you're following us for this summer series, don't miss that one. There's also choral classics on Sundays at 3:15. We have 2 more of these for this season, these final 2 weeks in July, and then there'll be a holiday break for choral classics. However, Great Sacred Music continues throughout August, so there'll always be the opportunity to cool down in here on Thursday at 1 p.m. To finish today, we have a spiritual arrangement by the American composer Rollo Dilworth, who was born in 1970 in St. Louis, Missouri. This is a rather playful arrangement which combines the texts from 2 familiar spirituals, Down by the Riverside and Wade in the Water, and Dilworth ties them together using the lines, "Take me to the water, take me to the sea, take me to the river, so that my spirit can be free." This is a request I think we can all get behind in hot weather like this. So thank you again for joining us, and enjoy.
Gonna lay down my sword and shield.